The Silverstone circuit that over the last 6 decades has created legends and heroes and staged the first ever Formula One World Championship race is into its last 2 years as the home of the British Grand Prix. One of the fastest circuits in the sport just couldn't keep up commercially. Donington will take over in 2010, but the British Grand Prix survives. So there's only 2 more chances to win at Silverstone. Lewis Hamilton pushed hard, but he'll start from row 2. Kimi Raikkonen with handling problems will be alongside. For the first time, Mark Webber will start on the front row in the Red Bull. And also for the first time, Kovalainen was quickest. It's a McLaren on pole position for the British Grand Prix, but it's Heikki, not Lewis.
I know exactly what excitement was going through his mind and how he was feeling at the time, because it's an incredible feeling. You build up, you got that one lap, and you feel it, you feel it. Yeah, the car's feeling good today, and I should be able to get pole. And when it happens, it's life-changing. It really does make a big difference.
So welcome to the British Grand Prix. The future might be Donington, but the present is this evocative and at the moment very wet high-speed circuit of Silverstone. Desperate to put on a great show in front of a capacity crowd, and it surely will, because other major sporting events today might well struggle in these conditions. But the wind and the rain here at Silverstone, well, it just adds to the spectacle, makes life a bit uncomfortable, but it also adds to the whole sense of unpredictability that surrounds this British Grand Prix today. So Mark Blundell, we've got the forecast rain, and now just about anyone could win this.
Yeah, they could indeed. We're set for a great race today. I think there's a couple of drivers out there of note. Wet conditions, Lewis Hamilton, we've seen him in the wet before. I think he's going to be awesome. And there's a couple of guys, maybe Mark Webber in the Red Bull, starting on the front row. He's got good visibility. He may well be in a position to have a great result as well.
Doesn't stop the red arrows flying above us, but exactly how bad are conditions? More rain is forecast, heavy showers during the course of the race.
They're pretty bad, actually, Steve. We saw the GP2 race earlier, very bad indeed. A lot of guys going off the circuit. These guys a little bit more experienced, obviously, but visibility is going to be the biggest problem they're going to have all day long.
Well, Lewis Hamilton off row 2 will certainly be eyeing race victory, but I'm sure he'd also settle for a decent points finish, having failed to score points in either of the 2 races after his glorious win at Monaco at the end of May. And now Felipe Massa becomes the 4th driver in the last 4 races to head the Drivers' Championship after leading home that Ferrari 1-2 at the French Grand Prix. Hamilton drops out of the top 3 behind Kubica and Raikkonen. Ferrari lead the Constructors' Championship from BMW after their domination in France. Good battle for 4th in that championship. Red Bull, Toyota and Williams. And Red Bull are on the front row for the first time in their history here at Silverstone this afternoon. And yesterday's qualifying was full of surprises, and James Allen takes us through the details.
Qualifying took place against a backdrop of the strongest winds we've seen all season, making conditions completely unpredictable for the drivers. Jenson Button was eliminated in the first part of qualifying for the 3rd year in a row here at Silverstone. Rubens Barrichello and Nico Rosberg missed out at the early stages too. David Coulthard was knocked out in the second part of qualifying. At this stage, Felipe Massa only just squeaked through into the pole position shootout by 1/10 of a second. Lewis Hamilton was fastest by a whisker from Heikki Kovalainen, his teammate. The Ferraris struggling for pace at the end of qualifying 2. Into qualifying 3, and McLaren again was setting the pace. Hamilton was up in sectors 1 and 2, then he overcooked it at Priory. His second lap was cautious as a result. He ended up in 4th. Kimi Raikkonen had been quiet throughout the session. He went briefly fastest, but then Mark Webber in the Red Bull steamed in to grab the team's first ever front row start. And then, to complete a day of firsts, Heikki Kovalainen took his maiden pole position with a near-perfect lap, half a second clear of the field.
Targeting for this for a little while, but I haven't been quite able to do it. A few times been quite close, but nevertheless, it's a good moment now.
Yeah, really encouraging for us. The guys have worked like hell in between Grand Prix, and obviously the factory is just down the road, so the atmosphere is really good within the team, and results always helps.
Pretty sure we're gonna be good in the race, so we cannot always get it right. So.
So let's take a look at the grid for the penultimate Grand Prix at Silverstone. On the front row, Heikki Kovalainen and Mark Webber. What an intriguing start that's going to be. Raikkonen and Hamilton make up row 2. Heidfeldt's on form in the BMW Sauber in 5th, with Alonso 6th for Renault. A career best for Piquet, 7th, and 8th for Vettel. Massa and Kubica both had technical problems in the final part of qualifying. Coulthard lines up 11th with Timo Glock alongside him. Through to row 7, Bourdais and Jarno Trulli in the Toyota. Row 8, Kazuki Nakajima, the best of the Williams, alongside Barrichello. Jenson Button down in 17th place with Rosberg alongside. And at the back, the two Force Indias of Sutil and Fisichella.
And now we understand that Nico Rosberg will start from the very back of the grid after a complete suspension change on his car. Could well win it from the back of the grid.
We've seen it done before, but I think it'll be a hard task. I think there's a few other guys out there of note. Kovalainen, half a second in front of everybody on the grid, certainly made his mark with that pole position. He could be a force to be reckoned with today.
What about Kovalainen's performance yesterday? There is a feeling he was on pretty much the same fuel load, same strategy as Lewis.
Well, I tell you what, there's a rumour down the pit lane that actually he's got a bit more fuel on than Lewis Hamilton. If he has got more fuel, that's an outstanding lap that he's done. And if he has got more fuel in as well, Steve, with these conditions, he's got more options, more flexibility in that first part of the race.
And Mark Webber, who shares the front row with Kovalainen, how much fuel might he have in that Red Bull?
Rumours are that not very much at all, so let's wait and see. I mean, if he is on fumes, that's quite tough for him in his conditions, because he's going to be in early, limits him on what he can do in this race.
Well, Red Bull might well have a say in the outcome of this race, so too might BMW, but for so long, this race has been seen as a battle between McLaren and Ferrari. Indeed, the whole season has been seen as a battle between McLaren and Ferrari, and Ted Kravitz has the latest on the great trial of strength between these two.
Northamptonshire is a long way from Maranello, so you can forgive Ferrari getting caught out by the British weather. They couldn't get their tyres working on Silverstone's cold track, and thanks to Friday's crash at the same place Michael Schumacher broke his legs in '99, championship leader Felipe Massa has suddenly had to switch his weekend into damage limitation mode.
The handling was all right. The only problem is that we were a little bit less competitive than we thought. So the only thing it changed was the wind. The wind was much stronger today, so maybe it's related to that, maybe not. We need to analyze.
Ferrari's post-qualifying analysis did show that the tyre temperatures were below what they should have been. But third is a result for Kimi Raikkonen, with all his championship contenders behind him on the grid.
Yeah, it would be nice to get back to and do some winning, but I mean we're in a good position against the others who's in front of us. So just need to have a good strong race and try to win it.
But in Kimi's way was the then 10-to-1 shot Heikki Kovalainen, realising his potential at McLaren after apparently consuming rather too many coffee and croissants during his time at Renault, or something along those lines, according to his new boss.
Wasn't in particularly good physical condition at the beginning of the year, and he's just got better and better, and he's got his best races to come.
And we've been in a good position after many Saturdays, but haven't just been able to put it together on Sunday. I think we've been improving the car a little bit, and there's no particular answer. I think there's no big magic into it. It's just little by little been able to squeeze the pace up.
And as for Lewis, his weekend started badly when he was stitched up in the press conference by David Coulthard and Jenson Button, who threw down a macho man challenge for Lewis to compete in a triathlon.
What if I say £10,000 to the charity of your choice if you beat me? What do you say?
Are you trying to steer me off this championship or what?
It's the only thing I can be competitive in the moment.
Yeah?
I think I'd be a world first.
You've had a charity. Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah, I will.
Sadly, that challenge is not going to happen. But did Lewis let the hype and expectation of Silverstone affect his driving in qualifying?
OK, Lewis, as Richard said, you were the fastest in the first two sectors. Do not overdrive. Don't overdrive.
Quite a bit of pressure and on the team, being the British Grand Prix, especially Lewis, and we're just trying to keep everybody calm in a difficult situation.
McLaren will give Heikki the same chance to win today as Lewis. The rest is up to them.
How concerned do you feel McLaren are about Lewis overstretching himself, overdriving, not just here but in other races as well?
I think there is a little bit of a concern knowing that Lewis gives 100% every time he gets in a race car, every lap he does, he's fully committed. And maybe they just want to try and just get him to have a little bit more composure. And I think with that composure, there'll be a lap time there which is actually a bit quicker. You just saw yesterday, he's just pushing a little bit too hard, made him a small mistake, but very costly to him. Put him on the second row of the grid. He could have been front row, could have even been pole.
It's Lewis in the best championship position, of course, but let's just underline that he'll get no favourable treatment in terms of Hamilton-Kovalainen relationship.
I don't think so. I think it's a very equal partnership. I think McLaren provide two equal cars, and obviously at this moment, Kovalainen made the best job with what was available to him. And that will sit a little bit uncomfortably with Lewis in a way. He's half a second faster than everybody on the grid, let alone the gap to Lewis as well.
Well, the car's in great shape. Two great drivers going for victory this afternoon. More on the prospects. We'll hear from Lewis in just a few minutes' time. But let's turn back now to the news that was announced on Friday, that Silverstone is going to lose the British Grand Prix to Donington from 2010. And of course, it's a totally remodernised and largely rebuilt Donington that's being promised. Big blow for Silverstone, but at least the future of the British Grand Prix does now seem to be secure. We can get the Donington viewpoint in a moment, but first, here's how Bernie Ecclestone justified that decision on Friday.
Whether it's good news for Donington and bad news for Silverstone, it's not the point. The point is we've been trying for the last few years to save the British Grand Prix, because had we not reached an agreement with Silverstone, we would not have had a British Grand Prix. We have a lot of people on the list that want a Formula One event worldwide, and all we've asked them to do is to bring this, which is now a little bit ancient, Silverstone, up to the standard of other European races. It's difficult for me to go around the world telling them this is what we want you to build, and they say, can we have a look at Silverstone? And I say, that's what we don't want. But don't forget, Donington is also a very historic place for motor racing. And we had a Formula One race there before when it rained like crazy. But that's life, isn't it? You have to move on, I suppose. That's the big problem, is the BRDC didn't want to move on. I think that's the problem.
I think the nature of the ownership of Silverstone by the BRDC makes for certain complications. We can't go beyond, we're trustees, we can't go beyond what we can afford. And we've looked at it totally rationally, and we put a very professional team in to bat for us, and they came up with the best offer they could. That wasn't enough.
There is still no way back.
No, we have a contract with Donington. Unless they, I don't know, come to agreement with Donington. I have no idea. That would be a pure business matter that have to do with between them.
I think there's certainly a feeling here that we don't think we're completely out of the hunt just yet. We still have a fantastic facility, and one that the government have already spent quite a considerable amount of money in investing in the infrastructure for us. So we're still here, and we'll still be here for motorsport.
You've got a huge amount of work to do, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, let's not underestimate it. It's not simple, but again, like I say, it's not as big as people think.
Just talk us through the development and the changes that you're going to have to make to the track and the facilities there as well.
Well, we've got to make some changes to the track, but it's fair to say if I touch anything from Redgate to McLean's, i.e. Craner curves, I think I'll be lynched. So everyone can rest assured that that's not going to happen. There's going to be a new infield loop, adding about another half a mile to the circuit to increase the lap time and to give another Craner-style corner. And the new Formula One pit paddock, and upgrading the basic infrastructure. What
about the funding? Where's the money for all of this coming from?
Well, you're going to hear a lot more about this over the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, there's not a mystery fairy godfather with a £100 million cheque out there. I wish there was, and if there are any out there, please call. But no, this is a debenture scheme, so we're going to be announcing our kind of fan-powered debenture scheme in the next couple of weeks. So.
And timing, I mean, it's a lot of work to do and not much time to do it. What's the situation with getting planning approval and all that kind of thing?
We benefit from a pretty good planning situation at Donington anyway, where it's very supportive of motorsport activities. So we are going into the planning process now in the next couple of weeks. We couldn't go before we had a contract because obviously we'd show our hand, but we've been working with the local authority. They're fully aware of what we're coming out with, and we expect a decision relatively soon.
So there's planning to be sorted out, there's funds to be raised, that's even before the building work starts. It's going to be a tough 2 years.
I think it's going to be very difficult indeed to achieve it, but they've got a lot of confidence and they seem like they're going to have a lot of money behind them as well. But the main thing is, Steve, that we're going to have a British Grand Prix in the future, and I think that's really important to all of us, all the fans especially.
Yeah, it does guarantee the future of the British Grand Prix. Whether or not it guarantees the weather, I'm not too sure, but the heavy showers have started to fall again in the last few minutes as Lewis Hamilton comes into his garage. Spirits very high in the McLaren camp, and I talked to Lewis yesterday evening. We'll be hearing that conversation in just a few minutes' time. But first of all, Martin Brundle describes Mark Webber's lap of yesterday that put a Red Bull racing car on the front row of the Formula One grid for the very first time.
The magnificent high-speed challenge of Silverstone, 5.14 kilometres. That's 3¼ miles in local currency. A 60-lap Grand Prix. Let's take a look at the circuit from behind the wheel with Mark Webber in the Red Bull. He did a brilliant lap for the front row of the grid. Let's see how he did it. 160 miles an hour as he passes the pits, looking for a tiny clue to where to turn in to Copse Corner. There it is. 7th gear still, just a slight lift. It's very windy out there, the cars are moving around a lot. Maggots, listen to this. Beckett, he's not lifted yet. and then comes down just 1 gear for the middle of the Beckett's corner. Incredible poise and balance from that car. 140 miles an hour through the exit already, easing to the left-hand side for Stowe. 195 miles an hour. There's the corner ahead of us. Let's see how late he lifts off. He's turning in already. Down 2 gears, stamps on the throttle, hooks it up on the curb through the exit, looking for the blind crest of Vale. Down 4 gears and 60 miles an hour. It's very slow through there. Now he'll dance the back end of the car around the outside of Club Corner, desperately trying to find traction. Up to 180 miles an hour, he'll drift to the right-hand side for the braking zone of Abbey Chicane. It's tailwind, he'll brake slightly earlier. Down 4 shifts, the car's just sliding through there. He centres a great lap now. Bridge corner, 6th gear, 150 miles an hour. Sweep right for the first part of the complex. Priory, 100 miles an hour, up to 140. Down to 60 for Brookland. Keep to the right-hand side, an unusual line into Luffield, the final corner. He's very tight. He's found a good, grippy line through there. Now he'll ease to the outside, almost off the track to get best traction through there. Over the finish line, Mark Webber on the front row of the grid, 2nd. Behind him in 4th place, Lewis Hamilton, who had a difficult qualifying.
It went very well, Q1 and Q2. I improved over both of those. Going into Q3 was quite good, but then it went pear-shaped, really. I had a bit of an oversteer moment, but we just found that they had huge guts to win. So at least that's a bit of a relief, you know, that I wasn't overdriving. And but you know, these sort of things happen. But it sort of put you out of sync, and then your next lap is never as good as it should be. Heikki's going to be the guy to be on the front row. We need to win. And anyway, that works out well for me because, you know, he takes points away from the other guys that I'm competing with, and it's good for him. But I think with us tomorrow, it would be nice. I think in terms of race pace, I'm much stronger than I was last year. So I feel confident and keen to get it going.
A lot of things have happened already during the course of this season. It's a fantastic championship battle that's building up. We're at the halfway point of the season. What would be your sort of halfway report on the way things have gone, the high points and the low?
Yeah, there's probably been more low points than the highs for us as a team as a whole, because, you know, Heikki's been very unfortunate on several occasions, and me, I've made numerous mistakes. I've had 3 sort of non-point scoring races, but I had that last year as well. So it's inevitable when you're in the championship such as Formula 1, where everyone's so close. It's inevitable, but it has been a cool season. I've won 2 races already, and there's still 10 to go. So,
do you feel now a particular appetite for getting the job done here at Silverstone sometime over the course of the next 2 years with the imminent move to Donington?
Definitely. It's a Grand Prix it has to be won, especially for the British driver. I'm not particularly worried after today. Tomorrow is the important one. The weather's going to be up and down, and so anything can happen. And so I just got to keep my mind straight, stay focused, and come back tomorrow and push hard.
Exactly how much does it hurt, Mark, when a teammate out-qualifies you?
It's your biggest gauge, your biggest marker for everybody around to look and see who's beaten who out the team. And it will hurt, and it will hurt also that it's by some margin, but that can all be rectified in today's race.
Well, Lewis will be directly behind Mark Webber's Red Bull here. How important is it that he gets past as soon as possible?
He has to try and get by as soon as possible, because visibility will be bad. Everybody will be looking for references on the side of the track just to make sure they know where they are. I can't tell you how bad it will be in terms of the drivers trying to see where they are.
Engines are firing up, the anticipation is increasing, and a short time ago, amid the worst of the wind and the rain, the drivers parade, with many of the drivers struggling to keep control of their umbrellas. They'll be struggling to keep control of their cars a bit later. Flags and banners waving for Hamilton, for Button, and also for David Coulthard, who announced his retirement this past week. Louise Goodman was also battling the elements on that drivers' parade.
Well, this will be the slowest lap that these drivers do around the Silverstone circuit all day, but it does give them a chance to soak up the atmosphere. The weather is disgusting, but that's not going to stop this 90,000 capacity crowd having a good time. I'm just going to climb under this umbrella with Jensen. Jensen, as always, fantastic reception here. Are you feeling the love?
I'm feeling the love, girl.
I mean, you do this drivers' parade at every circuit, but your home Grand Prix must be a bit different.
It is, and what beautiful weather we have for it. But everyone's still out, which is great. There's still, you know, 100-odd thousand people here, so it's wicked that they're out in the pouring rain. They've been sat here all day as well, Paul.
Do you do that?
Yeah, I love the sport. I would do anything for Formula One.
It's the last time your mate here, DC, is going to be on the Drivers' Parade at Silverstone. You're going to miss him next year.
I'm going to miss him. Hopefully I'll still get to see him. Hopefully. He won't be just hiding somewhere with his fiancée.
David, how could you give all of this up?
Oh, look at it. It's wonderful, isn't it? Yeah, no, of course I'll miss the racing, but I won't miss racing in the rain at Silverstone, that's for sure.
Is this a bit of a poignant moment for you, your last Drivers' Parade at your home Grand Prix?
Yeah, I can feel the water soaking through to my boxer shorts. I'm not sure at my age whether I've actually peed myself or it's the rain.
Listen, you might not miss this aspect of it, but you are going to miss Formula One in general, surely. It must have been a very difficult decision.
Yeah, of course, but, you know, all good decisions are difficult, I think, and I've had a great run, and I've really enjoyed my time, and, of course, proud of my victories here at the British Grand Prix.
We're going to miss you. Enjoy your last race here.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's reflect for a moment more on David Coulthard's career. The highlights having been 13 Grand Prix wins, 2 of which came here at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. His best championship finish was runner-up, but really, Mark, with a few better breaks, he could and should have been world champion.
I think he had the ability and the potential to be world champion on a couple of occasions, but the luck didn't run with him. He's had a great innings, David Coulthard. 2 Grand Prix wins here at his home circuit at Silverstone. 13 Grand Prix wins, and I have to tell you, you go back in the history books and start seeing how many drivers have won more than 10 Grand Prix, more than 5. Very, very few. So great achievement.
Well, David Coulthard qualifying just outside the top 10 for this afternoon's race. He'll be determined to finish in the points, I'm sure, on his last British Grand Prix appearance. But his Australian teammate, Mark Webber, he's the one who gets the glory of putting a Red Bull racing car on the front row of a Formula One grid for the first time. And Louise Goodman, who's been just about everywhere today, she's been in the pit, she's been in the paddock, she's been on the Drivers' Parade. She's been also visiting Mark at his Buckinghamshire home.
You've got yourself a perfect little slice of English life here, haven't you?
Yeah, it's lucky actually. It came up, and it's really good for the airports of Heathrow, Luton, obviously with all the travel we do.
And plenty of space for the dogs and the animals.
Yeah, exactly. They love it, you know. And it's, like I say, it's similar to what I'm used to at home, you know, in Australia, where we have, you know, it's nowhere near as green as this, and probably not as pretty.
There is lots of wildlife around here as well, isn't there? I mean, I've noticed you've got a little family over there. Coots or moorhens down at the end there?
Yeah, no kangaroos and big brown snakes, but yeah.
And you haven't mentioned the donkeys.
Ned and Oliver, yeah, they're the most 2 spoiltless donkeys in the world, I think. They're Annie's. I like being outside. I like, you know, even small things for me. You know, I was mowing lawns when I was 7 or 8, you know, for Dad. So all that therapeutic stuff for me is actually, you know, it's not a big drama for me, and I like to sort of unwind and relax and do that. It's important to try and keep, you know, to look after it and not be massively fussy about it, but try and do a good job of it so it looks half sensible.
Living in England, have you noticed a change in the way Formula One's been viewed over the last couple of years?
Oh yeah, no question about it. Obviously with Lewis at the front winning races, because obviously Michael, that was a big hit for Formula One, obviously how repetitive the Ferrari results were, and that probably hurt us a lot in terms of sport in a way. And now obviously that season last year was awesome. To have 3 drivers going to the last race was incredible. It has changed here definitely, and it's totally obviously just down to a bit of your own blood at the front of the grid, and that changes a lot of things, as we know.
It's coming together with Red Bull now, though, isn't it? I mean, obviously the race in Canada, this was up for 2 years.
Exactly, yeah. It was good race for you know, a podium with David there, and Melbourne obviously was a different race, but since then we've scored points in every race, and if we finish 4th, that is a tremendous, you know, for Red Bull, it'd be really good for us to do that.
There's been a lot of focus on the sport recently for probably the wrong reasons, the Mosley scandal that's been going on. What was your view on all of that?
I'm disappointed that it happened. You know, I'm a fan of the sport. You know, I'm a fan of motorsport. I like to believe that we have you know, all the people that we can be proud of all the way through. You know, most sports should be run and operated by people that we have respect for. We've got some brilliant racing car teams set up as the way we turn up, we race every fortnight, and I think the way the model has been in the last 15, 20 years has been reasonable for the sport. You can tweak it here and there.
Is there anything you'd like to see changed?
There's lots of little things that I'd probably do to help it for the show. I don't want it like a full American show, you know, but I think there's ways we could give a bit more back to the people. And, you know, if someone wants to take his helmet off on an in-lap to wave to the fans, mate, I'll be the first to do it. If we win a Grand Prix, mate, the helmet will be off and I'll be waving, you know, and say sorry afterwards. And, you know, maybe they take the win off me, but I think that the fans are still, on the day, you still know who did the business.
Does that mean when you win, we might be seeing you throwing a few donuts in?
Yeah, give something back to the fans. You know, they're there, and you know, show that they're actually humans behind the wheel as well.
Mark Webber, always interesting, always forthright. He's on the front row of the grid, but it's Lewis Hamilton who is directly behind for the start of this British Grand Prix. And Lewis has now settled into the cockpit of his McLaren. And in many ways, Mark, I suppose he'll be trying to forget that this is the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders when it's your home Grand Prix. I'm sure that everybody out there is waving those flags for Lewis Hamilton because they know they've got a great chance to win this event. But, you know, Lewis is so composed on many occasions like this. He doesn't seem to get too ruffled about the pressure. But saying that, a couple of races of late, there's been a couple of little fundamental mistakes.
Well, that's the thing. Try to put this race into the context of where the season now lies for Lewis, because he came here last year, took pole position, had a substantial World Championship lead. That's not the case now.
It isn't the case, but, you know, he's got the equipment. We know that this car is very fast around here because his teammate sits on pole position, and I think these conditions will suit. He's at the halfway stage, and I think there is every possibility that he can regain the World Championship lead, but he needs good, strong, solid results on a consistent basis.
Famous faces who have been looking on around the McLaren garage, Gordon Ramsay among them, and they always do eat well at McLaren, don't they, also? But certainly a moment of tremendous tension for Lewis Hamilton as he now fires the engine up, and he'll discover what over the course of this first lap about the conditions.
Well, it's going to be just an exploration lap for him, just to go out there and understand what the conditions are, what the grip level is, and what the visibility may be or may not be if the case is going to be with this traffic around. Very, very important for Lewis to try and get in front as quickly as possible. And, you know, so much can go on in these conditions. The risk is very high. You can make a small mistake in the dry, small mistake in the wet can be catastrophic, and you don't finish.
So this lap to the grid is not really a parade for the drivers. There's some serious work to do and some serious information to find out.
Exactly that. They're collecting valuable information, data that they can relay back to the team. There may be a little bit of tyre pressure situation they have to change. But these laps are important now. It's the first time that they've had the chance to get out in the conditions as they are today.
Okay, Lewis now goes up onto the jacks. No need to hurry out there onto the grid. He's got to do something to the car, then get it done now. But you've got to do everything to your own routine at this point, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a set routine for all drivers. They have different ways of going about their job, and Lewis just getting himself comfortable in the cockpit, very important, just getting very composed. They're just going to take his time to get out there. There's not a great rush. Your teammate pulls out in front of him here, and that's pretty much what the scene's been set all weekend long. But let's wait and see if he can turn that around.
And he heads out of the McLaren garage and down the pit lane. He's high-fived all his crew before he got into that car. And now, in a way, it's time to do the same to the Silverstone crowd. They'll be waving their flags and their Union Jacks and their banners and their best wishes for Lewis Hamilton banners all the way around this circuit. And David Coulthard as well will be getting a tremendous reception. But it's Lewis Hamilton, the man that this crowd will principally be urging on in this British Grand Prix, which is now, what, less than about 25 minutes away. But the cars will be assembling on the grid in these damp, rainy, rather bleak conditions at Silverstone today. Very demanding on the cars, very demanding on the drivers as well. Practice start for Lewis. I'm just trying to find out as much about what this circuit holds in these conditions and what the demands might be. And we'll try and do the same. We'll find out as much as we can from Martin Brundle down on the grid. We'll also get a chance at our ITV F1 competition. All that is coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. The British Grand Prix in damp, showery conditions here at Silverstone has become a race of so much unpredictability, so many question marks and so many unknowns. Cars flying into the pits to report what they've learned about track conditions. Mark Blundell. This is going to be fascinating.
It's going to be a great race, and this is one team actually who could benefit from these conditions. Honda and Rubens Barrichello as well, great driver in the rain and great skills. But you can just see their little twitch from Raikkonen, just trying to see how much grip level there is coming into the braking zone for the Abbey chicane. It's not going to be easy out there. It's going to be very, very tough indeed.
You're surprised at the amount of spray that's out there. It's not raining at the moment.
No, not raining at this point, but you can just see visibility very poor indeed. And as I say, a lot of the guys there using references to the side of the circuit, because once they get behind one of those cars, very difficult to see what's in front of you.
What's for sure, when they eventually get to the grid, there'll be a fantastic atmosphere, anticipation down there. Heikki Kovalainen is the man who sits on pole position for the first time in his Formula One career. And we can go straight down there and join Martin Brundle.
The crowd are ready. It's tense times for the drivers. They've got to make a tyre choice. Some of them been out on wet, some on intermediates. The band of Her Majesty's Royal Marines, Portsmouth, are ready to go. So is the safety car. Might we have a safety car start? I don't think so. I don't think...
Well, Martin was in full flow there. We will re-establish communication very shortly. Rain getting into just about every element of the operation at the moment, as indeed it seems down there at Ferrari as well. But Martin was casting some thoughts about the possibility of a safety car. Doesn't seem likely, does it, Mark?
I don't think there'd be a situation where a safety car starts. Not wet enough for that, but there is a big situation which may occur with a safety car during the race, and that's on the cards.
Communication re-established with Martin. Martin, it's all yours again.
Hello again. Safety car. They can start the race behind that if they think it's too much spray out there. But of course, remember then, if they do that, all of the drivers must elect for the full wet tyres. They can't take a gamble on the intermediates. Let's wander onto the... Let's have a quick word with Flavio. Flavio, we're just live here. What are your drivers going to do on tyres? You've spoken to them? You heard anything over your cans?
We put our boots and we go to ski today.
It's not that bad. This is the British summer, for goodness sake.
No, it's British, my summer. I don't see the summer yet today.
All right, we'll try and find some. Let's see if we can find a driver to talk to today. I suspect they're going to look at me like I'm trying to sell them double glazing or something when I approach them. But I'll get into some technical stuff in a minute. And he's talking to his engineer. Heikki, quick word for us. Track conditions, how are they?
They're good. They're nice and slippery, no problem.
Excellent. So what do you think, intermediates or full wet?
We're just talking with Mark about it. I can't tell you. They will be wet tyres.
Yeah, we saw Lewis going around. He looked very cautiously on the intermediate tyre. It looked a bit of a handful, actually.
Yeah, same for me. It was quite slippery, but I think when the cars go around the track in a couple of laps, it will dry the line and they'll probably be all right. So it might be the right choice.
Okay, good to have your face. Let's go see if we can find Mark Webber over here. Tremendous. We used his lap, didn't we, for the track guide. Extraordinarily a good lap. He's talking to Peter Windsor and co over there. Let's see if we can wander in. I think they may have just finished. Somebody else has started. We'll stick the microphone in. Oh, blimey, we're standing in a queue here. The trouble is, this lot throw to their studio. And we'll come back and find Mark. Let me just tell you some of the challenges that they have. Now, the wet tyres automatically give the car a slightly higher ride height because they can't change too many things. They can, now that the climatic conditions have changed, they can put a little less front wing on to change the balance of the car. Of course, they can change the tyres. They can block less for the brake ducts and the radiator ducts, but very little they can do otherwise. My dear old friend Murray, did
Sunshine.
You see? Yeah, Flavio was just asking for some sunshine. Yeah. Did you see the red arrows could still fly though, couldn't they? Amazing.
Well, it's great to be here, Martin. It's last time but one. And it's a pity that the weather's like it is, but I've got absolutely no doubt that we're going to see a cracking race, particularly with Mark Webber up there on the front of the grid.
I'm not entirely sure it's the last race but one. We'll wait and see how that all unfolds. But what do you think about Lewis Hamilton sort of at war with the media a bit? Have you been watching that?
Yeah, I've been watching it all the time. It's very sad. I think they're getting at him unnecessarily. It's putting enormous pressure on him. He's a nice lad. He's 22 years old. He's very inexperienced. He's got a lot to learn still. And I wish they'd get off his back and let him get on with it.
Bet you'll be looking forward to commentating on this race. Should be plenty of action, wouldn't there?
They would indeed, and I'd love to see it. But there you go, off you go.
So we've got a queue here. Sir Sterling Moss, still a quick soundbite as we're flashing through. You're not even getting too wet. You look very dapper today.
Yeah, I feel dapper, thank you. No, I think it's going to be a fantastic race. I really do. The weather is for us in a way. Sellout crowd, what else can you ask for?
In your day, they didn't have to worry about intermediates or full wets or anything. You just had one tyre for the entire event, didn't you? But
yeah, that's why we're stupid. We don't make decisions, you see. No, in those days, this sort of weather was, well, what the hell, it's bad. But I think it's going to be a good race, though. I really do. I think tactically it's going to be very important.
I agree. Let's see if we can find Webber now. I'm not sure. He's still on the grid. Roger, is Mark on the grid? Has he gone? There he is. Mark, can we move away from your car? It's a bit noisy here, mate. You're going to die of carbon monoxide there. Brilliant lap. Got yourself on the front row of the grid. How hard is it going to be out there this afternoon?
Yeah, I think the first stint's obviously going to be tricky. We've got to make sure the inters don't get too hot in the rear, and that makes it very, very difficult for the traction off the corner. So we get a tidy start and try and make it as hard as possible for the guys around us to not have as smooth a run through as they might like. But we're racing the Renaults, obviously Fernando and the BMWs. I mean, the Ferrari McLaren, fight for us this afternoon is going to be probably too hard to contain.
Now, have you got a feel for which tyres you're going to put on? Are you clear in your mind?
Yeah, Inter.
You're going to go on intermediates, not too much standing water?
A little bit at the start, but we have to get through that.
All right, well, good luck. Get on with that. Back to you, Steve.
Well done, Martin. Thanks very much. So the decision, at least around the front of the grid, seems to be intermediates. Will there be a few people gambling further down?
I think there'll be a few people who might take the easier option, that's the full wet. But the problem with that is that they probably won't last that long. As Mark Webber was saying there, I think they're going to take a few laps just to get the most of the water off the surface there. But if it doesn't rain anymore, we've got this ambient temperature, it could start to dry out very quickly.
Nico Rosberg, of course, will be starting from the back of the grid, from the pit lane, after a full suspension change in the Williams. But he has a chance of moving up through the field in these very unpredictable conditions, and that's the difficult thing, isn't it? We're in that area of uncertainty. We've got sunshine coming up, but we've got a strong wind that's whipping weather across, and we've got another very big black cloud on the horizon.
Yeah, all of the teams will be looking at the weather information, continuously monitoring that, trying to understand whether it's a worthwhile situation of putting those intermediates on, and looking what the window may be to get a set of slicks on as quickly as, or dry weather tyres as quickly as possible. So there's a lot of decisions to be taken inside the cockpit and out.
I tell you what, this is what Formula One at Silverstone is all about, isn't it? You've had a few races here in these kind of conditions.
I have indeed, and it's a fantastic circuit. It's a great challenge in the dry, and it's an even bigger challenge in the wet. And when you've got corners and you're still approaching them at 170, 180 miles an hour in wet conditions, and you've still got a high amount of G-load going through the car, and one little slip of the wheel is pretty easily done. But these guys are going to enjoy it even so.
Murray Walker, he's keeping dry all right. He's back into the Honda garage. The band at the front of the grid will be completing the formalities in just a moment, and then the cars will be heading on their way. And the prospects, I mean, where do you feel Ferrari lie at the moment?
I think Ferrari will be strong in these conditions. I think there are tyre wear is a little bit easier, but the problem for Ferrari has been all weekend long. They've got this oversteer problem. Both of the drivers have been having a rear end stepping out, and then they've been trying to catch it, and that's been costly. And if they still got the problem in the wet, they're in big trouble.
Louise is also down there on the grid, and I think she's got some famous guests with her.
I've got a posse of celebrities down here. I've got Gordon Ramsay, Matthew Robertson and Davina McCall. Now, Gordon, last time we saw you was at the Monaco Grand Prix. Bit different this one, isn't it?
Good old British weather yet again, but it's going to make an exciting race, which is more important. And, I mean, we need a British winner to win on the soil. There's only 2 races to go here in Silverstone, so I think DC was the last in 2000, so it'd be nice for Lewis to win it this year.
Do you think Lewis can do it?
I think he can. He's in a good position. He's feeling good. He's confident. I was very nervous this morning when Jack, my son, had hold of his steering wheel. I said, mate, whatever you do, don't drop hold. Just keep hold of that thing firm. So he sat in the car and he said, Daddy, jump in. I said, no, mate, I can't fit in there. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, but not now.
Matthew, what about you? Would you fancy having to go in one of these cars?
Oh, God, yes, but no. much easier to look at, I really appreciate it. I mean, coming down and seeing the technology and just... It's like they're about to send them off with NASA or something. It's unbelievable. Davida and I was watching the shoe dryer.
Oh, yes. There's a man. Everybody's got a job, haven't they, in the garage, and everybody's got a specific thing, and there was one guy to dry Jensen's shoes. Brilliant. I want that job.
Right?
Now, listen, you go to all sorts of celebrity bashes, but I saw you earlier on. You were like a little child. You're so excited about being here, aren't you?
Yeah, beside myself. Well, I had everything. I had red arrows going overhead. I had racing drivers, fast cars, loud noise, mechanical things, revving. Amazing.
I'm with you on that one, girl. Have a good time, won't you?
Brilliant, thanks.
So that grid will be cleared of all the celebrities and all the support crews in just a few minutes' time, and then the entertainment and the excitement really begins for this capacity crowd here at Silverstone. And just before it gets especially intense, let's give you one more chance at our ITV F1 competition.
This week's is one of the best competition prizes we've ever had. We're giving you the chance to live the life of Lewis Hamilton for a weekend, courtesy of HiltonRacing.com. You and a friend will be flown to the final race of the year in Brazil and stay in the Hilton Sao Paulo Morumbi, the same hotel as Lewis Hamilton. You'll also be given a Tag Heuer watch and a Hugo Boss suit, and then be driven to and from the track in a Mercedes-Benz, just like Lewis is. Plus, you'll also have tickets to see the race and have a chance to meet Lewis, to take pictures with him and sign all your autographs.
To be in with a chance to win a great prize, courtesy of HiltonRacing.com, all you have to do is answer this simple question. Who is my teammate at Vodafone McLaren Mercedes? Is it A, Kimi Räikkönen? Is it B, Heikki Kovalainen? Or is it C, Mika Häkkinen? Good luck.
Nice one, Lewis. So if you know the correct answer, it's a new number to call, 09049 596789. Calls cost £1 from a BT landline. Calls from other networks may be higher, and from mobiles will be considerably more. Or you can text F1 plus your answer of A, B or C to 63337. Text costs £1 plus one standard network rate message. Digital satellite and cable viewers can enter by pressing the red button now. You can enter for free at itv.com until 5 p.m. Friday the 11th of July. Entrants must be 18 or over. Phone lines close 5 p.m. Tuesday 8th of July, and entries made after the closing time won't be counted but may still be charged. Okay, good luck with that. Down on the grid with Ross Brawn, who we're going to be hearing from throughout the race. Ross, make sure you pick up that mic nice and often. It's going to be interesting, this one. What does your weather radar say?
Probably a little bit of rain now until 1 o'clock, then it leaves off, but coming back at 2 o'clock.
At the moment, you'd start this on intermediates, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But if it gets any wetter, then you'll have to go for the full wets.
Yeah, I mean, the full wets are what you'd need for the first few laps, but with 20 cars running around, they also push a lot of water off as well, so if we don't get any fresh rain, then it'll be intermediates.
Okay, in one word, your pre-race prediction for the win.
Pre-race prediction? Well, the pre-race prediction is this is an opportunity for those of us at the back of the grid.
Okay, we'll hear from you in the race. Thanks, Ron.
It's also a heck of an opportunity for Heikki Kovalainen on pole position, isn't it, Mark? If he makes the perfect start, he could well dominate this race.
Definitely, because if he gets out in front, he's got clear track in front of him. All the others behind will have to spray, the visibility problems. And Kovalainen has been very fast all weekend long. You know, that half a second chunk there of time, that's available to him in the wet conditions. He'll be leaving everybody behind him in his wake.
And Robert Kubica there, back on row 5 with Felipe Massa, the top two in the Drivers' Championship, back on row 5. They could come storming through. Ron Dennis, a few words with Bernie Ecclestone before the grid clears. But my goodness, to win this British Grand Prix at Silverstone, so many things have to be overcome. It's a circuit that requires everything of tyres, aerodynamics, the driver's courage as well. And in the wet, those demands are increased still further. Who's going to come out on top? We'll be a bit closer to finding out when you join us after the break.
Natural gas is one of the world's cleanest fuels, but most of it is found far from where it's needed. So we take the gas, liquefy it, and compress it in size by about 600 times. You can think about it in terms of reducing the size of the Eiffel Tower to less than a meter. ExxonMobil has found ways to transport 80% more liquefied gas than was possible before and reach more people all around the world.
It's the U.S. #1 smash hit that's a brilliant fantasy adventure. Jackie Chan, Jet Li, The Forbidden Kingdom, in cinemas Wednesday, July 9th.
One day, a car will come along that's powered very differently. Dramatically enhanced performance will be combined with lower CO2 emissions. That day is today. Lexus Hybrid Drive.
Precious stuff. Time just keeps ticking away, doesn't it? Shame to waste it, doing things you don't like. So, how about this? A limo, direct to an exclusive check-in area. Straight through your own private security channel, as you do. Leaving you more time in here, doing things you do like. Yep, precious stuff. Time. Talking of which, must fly.
World Touring Cars come to Brands Hatch on Sunday 27th of July. See Britain's Andy Priaulx fight for victory and experience a sensational BMW F1 demonstration. It's a full day of family entertainment. Kids 12 and under go free. Advance tickets £24 online from brandshatch.co.uk.
The secret of a perfect fit. Style that lasts. Secret. New from LG.
From bad drivers to car crime. Dangerous roads to boy racers. We get closer to the action as Alistair Stewart returns for a new series. Police Camera Action, Monday at 9 on ITV1.